I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now so you can get to the beginning of the slides, and we should be up and running. So let's just give it another minute or so, and then I'll get us started. We still have people coming in. We'll give it one more minute, and I'll get us started. All right, so while people are still coming in, why don't you, if you don't mind, if you have been on the first two sessions of Simple Steps, if you joined last week and the week before, would you just let me know in the chat, and then we'll get started. And I'll try and answer as many questions as I can in the chat, but I will probably end up holding most of those till the end. And again, I want to welcome you. My name is Bob Cohen. I am a SCORE mentor, and I'm very happy to be here tonight with everybody. Let's see who's been here so far. So it looks as if I've got a couple that have been here in the first and second session. Sherry, this is your first welcome to this session. So tonight we're going to go through Simple Steps 3, and that's starting your business. And we're going to talk a little bit about markets and market planning. And so what we're talking about tonight is a very high level 40,000 foot view of what it's going to take to do some of your marketing for your business. So let us get started. The first thing I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about SCORE for a minute, and just to fill you in. And let's go. So SCORE is probably the largest network of free volunteers that work with small businesses in the country. We're part of SCORE Cleveland here is part of a chapter part of I think 240 other chapters around the country, just like the one here in Cleveland. And I'm assuming that most of you are from the Cleveland area. I'm not certain, but if you are, just let me know. That would be great. Put that in the chat as well. And as I said, I'm monitoring the chat. So there are probably some 10,000 volunteers throughout the country. And yeah, it looks like Ashtabula, great. Northeast Ohio, wonderful. From Cleveland, welcome, welcome. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it looks like everybody's. I got somebody from Florida. Hope your weather's a little nicer than ours tonight, although we've had a warm day. It's pouring here. Sandusky, Chagrin, nice. Toledo. Well, welcome everybody. So, basically we're all volunteers. There are 90 volunteers in the Cleveland area in the chapter here. We give up our time freely so that small businesses can thrive in the communities that they're located in. And this is our mission, is to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. And that's kind of what we're doing here tonight. And from a mentoring perspective, we talk a lot about mentoring, and we talk a lot about the clients that we work with. And, we've got a lot of success stories, a lot of great companies that have been built through SCORE. The one thing that I will tell you is that, you probably should not try to go it alone. Anybody that that you talk to that's a successful business will tell you one way or another they had some type of mentors working with them, and that's what we here do at SCORE. So our um, I'll show you how to find a mentor in a matter of a moment. But just wanted to let you know that we have expertise in, when you think about 90 mentors, we've got expertise in a lot of different fields. The nice thing about SCORE is that, from a national community, we've got mentors all over the country that we can bring in at a moment's notice to work with us if there are um, special requests or things that we don't have here in Cleveland in terms of experience. So, but we've got a wealth of experience right here in Cleveland. Many of our mentors are retired executives. Many are still working. We are in the process in continually recruit mentors from all over the city, all over the New York. Northeast Ohio. So you all know that small businesses drive a big portion of the national economy. And so, it's important, about 50% of the economy. So it's important to keep small businesses up and running and alive. They create generational wealth, they create tax wealth, they do job creation. It's just so important to keep small businesses up and running. So, as I mentioned before, our volunteers give freely of their time, energy, and knowledge to help others. That is our reward, is the idea of giving back. So much of our work is supported by the SBA. We are a service arm of them, and a lot of the other money that we need to run our chapter, we raise ourselves through fundraising and working with foundations that are happy to support school. So I wanted to show you our SCORE website. So you can get to it very easily by going to score.org/Cleveland. A lot of great resources on there. There's a lot of good templates, so business plan templates, financial templates, a lot of wonderful articles that are written about very specific business um, um, subject matter that you all will get a lot out of. And I'll show you a few things tonight. The one thing I wanted to show you, and I'll bring this up live, and in a second, so you should all be looking at a live website from SCORE. First of all, it translates into probably about 70 or 80 languages. So that's very good. We've got some very specific areas in Espanol. So if you are Spanish speakers or bilingual, by all means, check that out. But I wanted to show you basically how to request a mentor. It's quite simple. You go to our website homepage, request a local mentor, and there are a couple different ways you can do that. You can put your information in, let us know in this box what it is you're looking for, how we can help you, the type of mentoring you might like, and there are a lot other options here as well. But this is one way to reach us, and then just hit submit. And what will happen is it will go based on your zip code to the chapter that it is intended for. A client assignment person or client intake person will actually look at this and make an assignment to a mentor that most closely matches what you're looking for here in Cleveland. And if in fact there is somebody that is available to do that, they'll assign it. Typically, you will end up being called to set up a mentoring session. You're either going to be, first you'll be emailed. If we don't reach you, then we'll text you and potentially call you, but we'll try and reach you at least 3 times before we'll give up. And sometimes more than that. But bottom line is, we'll try and reach out within 48 hours and set up a session directly with you. First session, a lot of times, is a lot of discovery. We want to understand and learn about your businesses. So that's one possible way to do that. I'm just going to go back one on this website, and where you can actually go ahead and browse mentor profiles. You can go in here and you can look at the various mentors that we have here in the Cleveland chapter and look at their profiles and figure out whether or not they are suitable. And there's several pages of these. and then you can actually request them directly. So that's how to do that. I'm going to go back to the slide presentation and continue on from here. So I just wanted to show you what has preceded what we're about to do tonight and then what follows as well. So session one, again, this is set up to help you find ways to start your business, to look at it, see how feasible your idea is. And if you're already in business, this is still not a bad way to take a look at what you're doing in your current business. But the idea with this one is that you go through a series of sessions, and Startup Basics really talks about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, those types of things. Session two, Business Concepts, that's where we actually went ahead and started looking at researching what's going on in our industry and our particular business, start beginning to look at competitors. We'll talk about competitors tonight. And then, of course, session three is we're going to talk about market planning a little bit. And as I mentioned, these are very high level. We can easily do several sessions on marketing. In fact, we do. If you get a chance to go to our website, take a look at the workshops that are coming up, and there are several recorded. Every workshop that we do is recorded and located either on our website, or we've got we've got a YouTube page. Sorry about that. Available as well that we keep these on. And in fact, tonight's is being recorded on YouTube. But we do have much more specific types of marketing programs that we do, and those might be very specific to Google Analytics, to putting videos up on your website, to analyzing your website, things like that in the marketing side of it. But this is going to be an overview. We also do a marketing basics overview, which is a little bit deeper than this. The way this is working is that we actually are working from a case study that was done with a company called Anne's Nursery. So if you have been involved in the first two sessions, you would have gotten handouts for those. If you are new, then what I would recommend, I'm going to show you where you can find those handouts as well. And I also want to let you know that we're recording this and that a copy of this will be given to everybody that is on here right now, and along with the live links that are in this presentation. So I'm going to talk about Anne's Nursery, but as I do, Anne's Nursery is one type of business, and there are tons and tons of businesses out there. We'll talk about business to business, business to consumer. We'll talk about a few of those other types of businesses that are out there. And keep in the back of your mind that this is an example that you can pull ideas from just in terms of the way this was put together. And there's actually a business plan, and Anne's Nursery is one of the handouts so that you can go back and take a look at that. So let me move on. And what I wanted to show you is these are the handouts that came with session one. Legal forms of business. We talked about, the types of businesses you might want to set up. Putting together a vision statement. Small business readiness assessment. And I think that anybody that is considering setting up and starting a business ought to at least have the ability to assess their own idea, and in particular your knowledge. And then a SWOT analysis we talked about, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight as well. And then session two, we talked about putting together data. And so there's some other things. There's a bunch on the second session. There are several different places where you can find research, both on your industry and a particular type of business that you might be in. So I would recommend that if you get a chance, you can review that. Now, I think so I put my email address right up here on that first slide. Oops, let's go back. If you need to get session one and session two, please send me an email, and over the next 2 days or so, I'll make sure that you get those sessions so that you have the material that we've gone through in the past. So this is really set up as a 5-part series. I'll talk to you about those other parts. In fact, part 4 is actually understanding and looking at finances for your business. And the last session is funding options, what's out there, how you might consider funding your business. So, also throughout all of this, feel free to try and get a mentor to work with you on building your plan. So I'm going to move on. And session 2 and 3, the links are there. So the benefits of tonight's workshop is really to help you begin to continue to develop your business plan. Takes you through the decision-making process a little bit deeper, provides you with information to help you make a go or no-go decision, and has core information. And again, remember, this is a 40,000-foot view, and very simplified details, but to give you the gist and the idea of what these plans look like. And it gives you the direction that you need to get started. So let's move on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the homework, a little bit about competition, products and service descriptions, pricing strategy, a little bit about target markets and channels, and again, market strategies to reach your customers, and marketing message and sales basics, and a little bit of homework for the next session. Now, obviously, you don't have to bring the homework to class. That's not necessary, but it's always nice to sit down and work on your plan through the kinds of homework that we give out. So the very first thing in terms of the homework review is we talked about, I'm sorry, let me go back one here. We actually, so your business idea, what your personal background is, if there's an industry profile that you can find with your industry, beginning to think through some target markets and some other factors, and I'll show you some other forms as we go along that you can work with. Pricing strategy, benefits and features, which we'll talk about tonight. We'll talk about some pricing strategy as well as profitability, and some of your marketing strategies. So let's first talk about some features and benefits. And I just want to kind of give you an idea of what features are and what benefits are. So when you're talking about features, it's easy to take a product. I don't know if you can see this. I'm not even going to do that. Take a product that you use in an everyday life. Okay, so let's talk about a washing machine that you wash clothes with. The features of those are the size of the load capacity, hot and cold water, how clean it gets, how many cycles it has, all of the things that are important from a bells and whistles perspective. But more importantly are the benefits of those features. So when you think about your business and you come up with a laundry list of features that your business does in terms of clients or sales, you want to go beyond the features. You want to go beyond the fact that my computer's got X amount of gigs of hard drive space and it's such and such a speed. You want to be able to say what that does, what's in it for me as the customer, what's in it for me if you are a business to business. Let's say you're an architect and you're talking about features that you have in terms of your architectural firm. What is the benefit to the end user client? What is the benefit to the end user buyer? That's what you want to talk about. So, go back to the washing machine, and the benefit of having a large load capacity is you only have to do you can do fewer loads in less time than you would, and save time, save money, save energy, all kinds of stuff that are actual features of that product offering. Same thing with a computer. The speed is great to know, but the speed is good when you have benefits because of the speed. So the benefits because of the speed or the size of the hard drive is that um, I've got the ability to open up multiple programs at the same time, so I can go back and forth, and you're not waiting for something to come up in your on your screen while you're doing research. The speed helps there. The size of the memory, you can store much more on a larger memory. So those are the benefits, and those are the things that you want to consider as you think through what your business is doing and your pricing strategy based on the benefits and the features as well. So when you think about pricing, are you the high price provider? Are you in the middle of the pack? Or are you the low price provider? And every one of those has advantages and disadvantages. So when you think through your pricing strategy, the first thing you want to do is see where you fit in with your competitors. And if you've got value and if you've got features and if you've got something to sell, you can be a higher priced provider than your competitors, but you darn well better have a value proposition that is stronger than what your competitors have if you're going to price higher than your competitors. On the other hand, you can be right in the middle of the pack, and maybe there are other features or benefits that bring you the clients that you're looking for. Maybe you've got a small little niche, and that small little niche is an area that nobody else is covering. That's another way to look at what you're doing. Being the low price provider is also okay if you're positioned properly there. So, a low price provider is somebody that is potentially um, being, undercutting their competitors. And that's fine if you can make money and you can sell by volume. And when you think about, pricing and pricing structure, when you go to the supermarket and you're buying soda pop or, you're buying another product and somebody comes in with a lower price, then by all means that, is going to potentially garner a market or the corner of a market that may not exist. But on the other hand, if you're the low price provider, then you end up being there for low price and no value. So when you're talking about features and benefits, or you're talking about higher pricing strategy, it's that value proposition that works. Okay, so if you're the lower price provider, likely you have many, many more competitors, and the people that shop you are going to shop you on price alone and not value. So you need to, and there's a place for that. So you need to think that through carefully before you make your pricing strategy. Sales size, that's something that you need to figure out based on the market that you're looking at, the size of the market, your share of the market, and how much of that market that you can actually garner. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit further in. Marketing strategy, and I'm not going to talk about that here all that much, but that is how you're going to reach your market, who your target audience is, what their buying habits are. And we'll talk about that again as we go a little further. And then, how efficient is your business? How efficient is the model that you have? How much are you using technology? How does that technology affect your client? How easy is it? Let's say if you've got a e-commerce site for your client to buy, and also from within your business strategy, how easy is it for you to collect data on the people that are coming to your website or visiting you through social media? Those are all things that you need to think about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about features and benefits going forward and pricing and so on. But to give you an idea, again, remember we're talking about Anne's Nursery. Anne, just to give you a very quick background, this is a real nursery. It's not called Anne's Nursery. It's located outside of the Philadelphia area. I don't know if they're still in business. I assume they still are. But Anne, who started this nursery, had a background in horticulture. She was already involved in the industry because she's got a graduate degree in horticulture from, I want to say, one of the universities in Pennsylvania. So on a local level, she's very familiar with the garden scene as well as the nursery scene, and those are primarily her targets. And we'll talk about that in a little while. So um, what I want to do is show you, you can do this with your own business, your competitors' businesses. You want to look at benefits and features. You want to compare yourself to them. You want to look at your pricing versus their pricing. You want to look at products and service mix, okay? And you want to look at your marketing strategy versus theirs. So there's competitor one, two, and three. I'm going to show you a little bit about how Anne did this. And again, while this is a nursery, almost any business that you're about to start or you're already involved in can still look at these things the same way. Now, again, this is very, very simplified, but it'll give you a great idea of how Anne took a look at it. So this is Anne, obviously. She's got competitor A, competitor B, and competitor C. Now, if you do three competitors, that's great. If you want to do four or five, that's great as well. You know your competition, or you should be researching your competition to see who they are, and then you can start looking at this. So Anne feels that based on the research that she's done in the industry and in the area, that her features and benefits are better than her competitor A, about and her competitor B, I would say they're probably on par. She's got a negative, a minus sign. Actually, a minus sign means that this competitor is not as strong. And then competitor C, she's got zero there as well. And then when you take a look at her pricing, she is kind of neutral at zero. Competitor A's got stronger pricing, higher pricing. Competitor B is probably right in and around where Anne is in terms of her pricing, and competitor C the same way. Now, when you start looking at product mix and size, so size is market size potentially, or the size of her product mix, or her actual product offerings, the amount, number. I mean, you can look at it in a lot of different ways. But again, this has been very, very simplified to give you an idea of how this works. She sees herself as neutral, whereas competitor B is not as strong. Competitor A. Competitor C is neutral as well. And Luca's got a better mix, competitor C. So those are things that you can take into consideration as you begin thinking through your business options. She might decide that she wants to get a little bit different in product, but she's got a very specific product. Now, I'll go into that in a minute. And now marketing strategy, okay? And you can do this with multiple categories of things that you might want to consider against your competitors, or things that you want to consider about your own business, and then look at what the competitors are doing. So market strategy, she thinks she's pretty strong. Competitor A is pretty neutral. Competitor B might actually be a little stronger than she is, and competitor C about on par with Anne's marketing strategy. So that tells you a few things. First of all, as she's sitting down and thinking through what her competitors are doing, and you should be doing this, you should be very, very carefully following and looking at your competitors and getting as much knowledge from their websites, their business. There's no reason you can't call up and be a customer and ask them questions about what they do and how they work and their pricing. And that might give you some idea in terms of how you want to change, or how you want to put together and develop your own marketing strategy. Okay, so then she's looking at business models. Okay, in the nursery business, for the most part, it's retail or it's online, and she has a specific model that she's going to be working with. So there may not be as many different kinds of models out there for a business as there may be within the field that you are working. So that's something you want to be aware of. And you can easily tell somebody's business model in a lot of different ways. I mean, you can research that company directly. You can find them on the internet. You can go to the library. You can actually look them up on several other databases to get information about them. And we went through a lot of that last week. Get information about your competitors. But I'll tell you what, the internet and the library are a great place. Anybody that has the opportunity, I work with the Cuyahoga Library. We work with the Cleveland Library. Their downtown branch is one of the best business libraries I've ever been to. And in every case, the reference librarians, business reference librarians, are solid people that can help you actually find very specifics. We went through a couple databases that are available online through the libraries, just having to have a library card. So a great place to do research. So these are things that you want to consider doing. Again, we spent a fair amount of time on that last week. I can't spend that much time tonight, but consider looking at either the recordings or look at the slides that I'll try and get to you. So again, Anne's talking about her products and services, which we looked at here, and we will look at again. So special benefits, does she have special benefits? Are there unique features? Couple things. One benefit that she provides is, first of all, the types of plants and shrubs that she grows are different and a little bit more exotic than most of what's offered in most nurseries. So that's of value if you're looking for those types of things. Special benefits might be what's inherent in those particular plants, but she also has another benefit that she will provide very specific instructions on how to grow those particular plants. Unique features, she actually will guarantee that that plant will live for a specific period of time after you put it in the ground if you follow her instructions. So, knowing other things like your suppliers, you may have special suppliers that nobody else can get to. That's a special feature and a special benefit, depending on how you're looking at it. Intellectual property, you may have a process that nobody else has. You may have a recipe that nobody else has. You may have specialized permits. You may have specialized training. You may have things that are different. Those are all part of your value proposition that should be part of your products and your services. So think about that as well. And so, as you can see, Anne has actually done that. I'm going to go to the next slide. There's a handout that will be with the handouts that I outlined tonight that are, your marketing plan, products, and service description. Let's see if I have that. Let me go back to here. I do believe that I've got this and we will hit it later. If not, I will make sure you get it. But your product, service, your ideas, the special benefits that you are offering, your unique features, all the things I just went through, limits and liabilities. Okay. Not only is it a benefit for Anne to offer a guarantee, it's also a liability because she will have to make good on that. But there may be other kinds of liabilities that you need to deal with as well. Production and delivery. Now, not everybody's producing something or delivering something, but if you're thinking about it in terms of you are providing a service, you still need to think about how you're getting that service out. Are you working directly with other businesses, business to business? Are you working through your website? Are you an e-commerce site? What types of products and services and delivery are you going to be putting together for your business? And those are all things that will fit into your business plan. And suppliers, again, do you have special suppliers? Do you even have suppliers? Do you have the right suppliers? Those are all things you want to look at. And again, I mentioned intellectual property. So let's talk a little bit about marketing by pricing strategy in particular. It is something that you really need to understand what the market price is. So if you got a product or if you're offering a service, you need to understand what else is out there. If you're manufacturing something, you need to understand if other people are manufacturing it, what their pricing looks like. What is the market price? Where is the middle of that pack? And then you need to think about, do you have or do they have value added premiums? Does your competitor have a value added premium you don't? Or do you have something that they don't? You think about that in terms of putting together your pricing strategy. Channel considerations, and we'll talk about channels in a few minutes. Who are you selling to, and how are you selling? So, are you selling to a consumer? Are you selling to a dealer? Are you selling to another professional service? There are so many out there that we can look at, but to understand who your end user, your ultimate buyer is, and to understand things about them and understand even what their pricing um, what their pricing levels are. And when I say that, if you're pricing something and you're underpricing it, number one, you're not going to make enough money. But number two, you are not going to be considered a value added proposition. And number three, if you're pricing low, you're also going to be in a much heavier competitive situation. So things to think about, and I'll go through channels in a few minutes. Um, Things like, are you marking up on cost? So I see a lot of entrepreneurs that start businesses that don't think through what their actual costs are. So you see this guy standing at the candy counter. What does it cost him to buy? Let's say he's got a half a pound of jelly I don't know, jelly beans or whatever sitting there in front of him. What does that half pound cost? How many can he sell in a week? And how much is he selling it at? What's his profit? Those are all things we'll talk a little bit about in the next section, the next session, I should say, session 4, when we talk about the finance part of it. But it's really important to have a handle on what your market will accept or what your customer will accept. So I have people that do products that they might sell at, let's say, a farmer's market, and it might be a craft product or something like that. And they'll get there and they'll sell out in a matter of a couple hours. And so you think about that. Are they pricing themselves properly? You know, um, Number one, you want to look at how accepting people are of pricing. A lot of times people will pay higher prices for better service or better well-known quality. So that's something you want to think about as well. And if you're not getting any pushback on pricing, you may be pricing yourself too low. So you need to experiment a little bit about it, but you also need to know how you fit against your competitors and what the market really will bear. And then, as I said before, when you put together your financials for your company, you want to make sure that you're paying for labor. If you got rent and tools and any other things that go along with that, those are being paid for. You're paying yourself and you're making a profit. That all goes into thinking through pricing. Some other options I mentioned: markup on cost, bundling. Travel agencies bundle all the time. They might bundle airfare with hotel, with transfers and transportation, and with some sightseeing. And the prices might be really good. The advantage of working with a travel agent that does something like that is it's one-stop shopping. And if you're going somewhere and you need to set up your own sightseeing, your own rental car, your own hotel, your own food and beverage, and your own rental car, all the things that go along with a trip, and you can pay one price and get it sometimes almost as reasonably as you can set it up on your own, because somebody that bundles generally is going to be getting a little bit better pricing from their suppliers than you might at a retail level on your own. So, things to think about as you think through your pricing strategy. And then consumer type. And I'll show you more about that as we go on. But are you selling business to consumer? Are you retail or wholesale? Are you selling business to business? Are you providing a service to another organization that is, needing of your service? So, you have an art studio and you're selling logos. That's business to business primarily, and so you need to think through that as well. And what types of promotions? So as you're beginning to think about that, think about your initial pricing. As I mentioned, the cost of materials, and making sure that you've got the profit in there and labor. And you also need to be in a situation where you are not so low below your competitor and not so high above your competitor, unless, of course, you've got the value to go along with the higher pricing. Okay, so then you want to just adjust your prices along the way. And again, you want to make sure that your customers are seeing value on the prices that they get. So it is a price value relationship that you want to take a look at to make sure that you're not too low and you're not too high. Again, I mentioned setting your prices too low potentially could disrupt the market. Um, you know, Years ago, there were several pricing wars, and I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember when the gasoline companies actually had that before the price of oil was 100 bucks a barrel. You could buy gasoline when I was a teenager at 18 cents a gallon. Um, think about that for a minute. That's a long time, but pricing too low could definitely do that. And then, new businesses end up suffering the most. So if somebody's undercutting your pricing, that's a real issue. You need to figure out how to deal with that. So there is a pricing strategy handout, and basically it is just, you name your business and describe your pricing strategy. It's that simple. Now, I mentioned working with a mentor. You can work with a mentor on all of these handouts as well, and work it together to put together a business plan. Or you may already have parts of your business plan figured out. Or you may have it in your head, but get with a mentor. Don't try and do all of this alone. Get with somebody that's got experience, has either worked with other businesses or worked in his own business or her own business. Again, so we're going to talk about typical channels. We talked about business to business, producer to distributor to a retailer. That's kind of supply chain. And while, if you are a consumer, you probably are buying from a retailer that in some way or another is part of a supply chain. Um, so producers, then retail to final customer, that's business to consumer. As I mentioned, that could be retail, it could be wholesale. The channels could be through, direct sales in a brick and mortar store. It could be online with an e-commerce site. Dozens and dozens of different ways for you to sell to a consumer. And if you're selling wholesale, then likely you're selling to somebody that is then selling to the consumer. So, what I want to talk about is who you're going to sell to. And our marketing basics program, which is not this, really talks in depth about who you're selling to, how to identify them, and then and you can go online and get this. It's called Marketing Basics. I may be the one that actually taught that class. But it really goes into detail about who you're selling to, how you're selling, and targeting and all the things that go along with that in a lot more detail than this. But this is, again, based on ANDS, and it's a nice overview. So things that you want to understand a profile of your customer, your client, if you're a service business, your end user, depending on what you're selling and how you're selling it. You really want to understand that profile. So these are only small portions of what that profile looks like. Now, if you're already in business, I would urge you to take a look at your people that are buying from you, your customers, your clients, and see who they are and profile them. See what their demographics are. When I talk about demographics, and Bob talked about this last week, Bob Fedor did the research part of this. And, when you're thinking about demographics, you're thinking about potentially, how they identify male, female, LGBTQ plus other identities that people might have. That's really important if you have products that are specifically geared toward men or women or age groups or if it's children, specific types of play groups or whatever. That's so important to understand those demographics. Income level is extremely important as well. We'll talk about a few other things down the line here, but if you're selling a very high priced product or service, then you need to make sure that your target through their demographics, and Bob showed how to do some research, but you can go to the Census Bureau, census.gov, and you can look at almost any land tract by zip, by city, by state, by county, and understand in any land tract what your key demographics are, what the income level is, how many households are there. If you're interested in working with, in some way or another, your target audience is married couples or single females. There's a lot of ways to figure out those. And then, of course, the geographics, just as simple as making sure that you're in the right place, right time. I like to use a fishing analogy. You can have all the bait in the world, you can have the best equipment in the world, but if you're not fishing where the fish are, you're not going to catch anything. And the same thing holds true here. Again, maybe a little oversimplistic, but it holds true. Buying habits and behaviors are extremely important. Okay, so let's say that you are working with a product that has a specific demographic, and so on. Let's say that you have a tattoo parlor, okay? You need to figure out who's going to buy the types of tattoos that you sell, what type of art you have, and how they fit, and then where they get their information. Are they getting it online? Are they getting it through social media? Is there a specific social media that works best? So those are the types of things that you want to be considering when you think about buying habits and behavior. And you also want to understand, based on that, where people get their information. So those are all types of research that you can do. But don't underestimate your competitor. Look at what your competitors are doing and who they're selling to. That's going to give you some ideas. Market size and realistic penetration. By that, I mean, is how big is the market? If you are confined to a specific area, so in Anne's case, she had, there were 210 nurseries, I think, no, 200 nurseries that fit the demographics that she was looking for. And it's in a fairly small enclosed area. If you're selling in a neighborhood, if you're selling in a geographic area, if you're selling based on a zip code, if you're selling based on Northeast Ohio, we're selling on Ohio, we're selling regionally, we're selling nationally, it's easy to figure out what that market might have. It's easier to find it in a smaller market than in a larger market. How big is that market? What is the potential penetration you have in that market? And you'll see. And Bob mentioned this last week. Is the market growing or declining? And, or is the market changing based on new technology and things like that? The last thing you want to be in, if you can avoid it, is a declining market. You'd like to be on the upside. You'd like to be in the middle, where you'd like to be in what was a strong market now declining, but something new in technology or some new way of buying or selling has hit has hit the air, and the possibilities exist that if you go into that business, you can actually grow it. So those are things you want to think about. So um, I'm going to show you, I think I've got an example of hands, but and you can see we've got all kinds of people here. We've got somebody that's got a restaurant. We've got somebody that sells artwork in a gallery. We've got somebody that has a dress store, and somebody that's probably just some sort of business service offering. So, but it's the same. Where do you fit in? What are your target markets? Where do you fit in the channel? What are the key demographics? Now, again, I'm going to show you something that's overly simplified. I would advise you to go into a little bit more detail. What are the buying habits? Market size and what your share potential is there. And this is how Ann did it. And again, overly simplified. I'd like to see you put together more detail with your mentor or on your own to get a lot more detail here. So, first of all, her target markets are local nurseries. Okay. And I mentioned there are 200 nurseries in her area. And she figures that her penetration rate there is, or her revenue potential there is $50,000 annually for each of the 200 um, um, local nurseries. Okay, she figures that's the whole market size, not her penetration. She figures she can get 5% of that market. Now she's probably done some research to see how many other local nurseries, where they're buying, how they buy, what their buying habits are, and she probably also has made calls or in some way or another talked directly to a lot of these nurseries to give her the confidence to make that sort of a forecast. Then she's looking at distant nurseries. Okay, and we'll talk about how she's going to get there as well. So in this particular case, her channel position is that she is a producer slash retailer. Okay, same thing here. She's selling, I'm sorry, to producers and retailers. So local nurseries that produce their own plants but don't produce the ones she does, and are also retailing her product as well as their own. Same thing with distant nurseries. Now, distant nurseries means that she is going to work with nurseries. In her particular case, she is going to find a sales rep that has good relationships and understands those nurseries that she might be targeting across the country, or let's say in the rest of Pennsylvania. Could be across the country, but for the most part, let's keep it small. And so let's look at what she's figured out here. So key demographics are $1 to $30 million in sales as a broad product. The buying habits, trust of product and personal connection. So Ann has made personal connection with all these local nurseries, trust of the product and pricing here, but she's also going to have a sales rep that's got connections that she can bring in. And then she's looking at the market size. She's figuring that, distant nurseries, there's some 4,000 district nurseries that she can identify that she thinks do about 50,000 each, times 4,000. And again, these are her own estimates. Don't know how true these are, but she figures that if she can do 0.1%, she's doing pretty good there. And it might be well worth her time, particularly if she's national, to get 0.1%. Okay, and she can grow that over time in years. So again, another area that she's looking at a target market are the local gardeners, and so it's a consumer, high end, local reps available, pricing. She figures that there's $500,000 and her share is 5%. And then internet gardener, she's actually going to sell directly to gardeners through the internet, but these are not nurseries. These are actual gardeners that are looking for higher end experience with their plants. So that's how she's put this together. And I see a few questions. I'm going to hold off and try and answer those at the end. I'm a little behind schedule. I'd like to be out of here by 8 o'clock. I don't think that's going to happen. Hopefully you can stay on and we'll probably work for another 15, 20 minutes. And I think we should cover most of what's here. So, when she's thinking about her target markets, her channel position, the demographics, buying habits, and all that, cost versus profit, these are all the things we've kind of just gone through, and the estimated size of the market, and how much of that could she actually get. And then she's going to do a little bit of a market comparison to see how her areas fit in terms of the channels that she's picked out. So I'm just going to go to the next one because I think, yeah, so she's looking at need, profitability, channel conflict. Okay, and there potentially is conflict in the channels. We'll talk about that in a minute. Competition, and it fits her. Okay, you can also take a look at it in the same way. Again, overly simplified, but the message is there and the idea works. So there's a need for her product, both in the local gardener, distant nursery, local nursery, distant nursery, local gardener, and internet gardener. Profit is strong and this is just her looking at herself. Profit is strong for local nurseries. It is, kind of neutral from a distant nursery, but she feels that she can grow that. And local gardeners, there's some profit there as well. Internet gardening, a little bit not as strong as the local nurseries. So she's now looking at what the sales potential is based on what she's already done research-wise and what we just talked about. So from a sales perspective, local nurseries are very strong for her. Distant nurseries are reasonably strong. She's got a minus here with local gardeners, and she's got a plus with internet gardeners. Channel conflict, and here's where the issue is. She's showing that there's some channel conflict here. And I'll tell you why, and you probably would read it when you read this case study. The channel of local gardeners is a conflict because local nurseries typically will sell to those same local gardeners. And the last thing she wants is for a nursery that she's selling to think that she's competing directly with them. So she actually ruled out that local gardener as a channel for her. And I would advise you to look at the various kinds of channels that you're in. If you're buying some stuff that is wholesale and you're selling it on a retail basis, if the wholesaler that you're buying from is also a retailer, then you potentially have a channel conflict there. Competition, she sees herself being neutral. Distant nurseries a little bit less than competitive. Same thing with, well, obviously local gardeners is no longer a channel, and neutral kind of here as well. But fits me, she's seeing this as the strongest possibility. So I'm going to move on. Let's just talk about messaging for a minute. And we've gone through a lot of this. So the idea here is that no matter what messaging you are utilizing, that you come up with an idea for your message that can be carried out in a fairly uniform basis, no matter where that message is going. Obviously, you're going to adjust it a bit based on what you're actually putting out there, but the overall message, and I might say, if you're talking to somebody else and you are delivering your elevator pitch, this is a great way to start thinking that through as well. Or if you're going to be pitching to other businesses, a great way to think that through. So, concise message that fits your target customer's needs for quality, price, availability, dependability, all of the needs that you think your customer or client has. Again, if you're a service business, you'll look at the same things in a slightly different way. but clearly identifies unique features, and I should have added benefits to this. And it can be consistently communicated in all marketing material and media. So whether it's social, whether it's print, whether it's earned media, whether it's shared media, whether it is, um, you know, um, things that you're doing, your own curation, the message should stay somewhat the same no matter what. So there is a message outline that you can go through, but I wanted to show you what Anne put together. Again, overly simplified, but the point is right. Anne's Nursery, which is the name of the business, offers discerning growers and gardeners who are her target customers high quality ornamental trees, shrubs, and vines. Those are her products, backed by well known horticulturist Dr. Ann Murphy, a 1 year back guarantee to grow and extended plant care. And then documentation, which are the features, are things that she will add in as well. So it's a concise message. It works fairly well, and somebody's asking, where does Anne share her marketing messages? And I don't have her exact marketing plan, but I would, here's some of the things that you can be doing with it. And the idea again is, if you're going to put together any kind of marketing program, whether it is traditional media or it is digital media, or you're working through things like, um, let's say, let's say you are a business to business company and you're working through organizations, trade shows, conventions, and things like that. That is, there are all kinds of ways of thinking about that. You need to understand your target market, B, what their demographics are, C, where they get their information. And, if, let's say, for instance, your demographics is my age of person, and, I've been retired for several years, the majority of friends that I have don't do much in social media outside of Facebook. So is Facebook a good target? Maybe. Is there a better target? Maybe. Okay, so that's what you want to think about before you just go out and put messages out everywhere. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do social media just because. I think you should. I think the more information you get out, and the easier it is, and social media is particularly easy. And if you've got a great website and everything works through your website or works through other messages that you put out back to your website, that's only going to help things. But I would also suggest that you put together a fairly solid, thought through marketing plan. And I'll show you a little bit in a minute. So here's just some tools. I mean, you could see in a very local area where Ann talking, having a newspaper ad or TV ad or coupons or radio could work. Okay. Public relations, and that's what I talked about in earned media. If something special is going on with your business and you write a public relations press release and have good media relations, there's no reason why a good story might not get picked up and put into places that you want to go to. Now, if you are a small business and you're working with a trade organization, they may have publications, both electronic and or print, that you can work with. So I don't want to discount some of the traditional media. I think it's great. And collateral that you might need might include business cards, trifolds, and stationery, and all those things. If you're just starting out in business, it's good to have those things anyway. And then digital. Everybody should have a website. Um, I don't care if that website is being, used to sell things or to give information, or you're curating information, or it's just a place for somebody to get to understand who you are and what you do. You got to do that. And we'll talk about other things and various other aspects of what we do. But Google Business, having a Google Business profile is extremely important. And then looking at social search engine optimization, marketing digitally through social media, various kinds of other marketing, um, um, things like electronic email, all great ways to do it, but you really need to understand who you're selling to, where they get their information, and how to get them to your website, or how to get them to inquire, or how to get them interested in your product or your service. And sometimes it's a combination of you making direct calls. I'm not, saying sales calls, but direct calls to the customers that you're working with, getting information in their hands, following up. Also, having the PR out there, having this social media material out there, and driving everything back and forth through each and every one of those options, and constantly. And that's how you get that message out. But if you're going to be spending money on any of this, I would advise you to really think it through carefully and put together a full-blown marketing plan. Let's see, what else do we have? So product samples, offerings, presentation material, signage. I got to tell you that, SCORE, although we're a nonprofit, and there are probably plenty of nonprofits on this call. In fact, if you are a nonprofit, do me a favor and just throw it in the chat that you're a nonprofit. I'd like to know that. We talked about nonprofits and for-profits early on, but SCORE is a nonprofit. And the top of our sales pipeline are these webinars. Okay, and, I mean, you heard me pitching Score Mentors, and it does its job. We are so busy. Um, okay, so I see. Okay, so there's one nonprofit out there so far, but so getting out. What we do is, we've got a great web presence. We do a lot of social media, but we also, as I said, the top of our pipeline is getting people to our webinars. And when they come to our webinars, they generally sign up for mentoring, and that's just one of the ways that we work. And so, there are tons and tons of ways to get to the right people. If you take a look at search engine optimization and you go in there saying something to the effect that I'm looking for a business coach, Score will pop up either number one or number two. So that's what you ideally want. We have so many great workshops coming up on search engine optimization, on Google Analytics, on all those things that go along with social media that you should take a look at. Go out to our website and see what's coming up. So I think we're winding down. I don't really want to cover um, expense all that much. You need to think about what your one-time costs are, your periodic expenses. I'll show you a budget in a minute that you can get to through the handouts. Actually, I think it's a link here. Um, and and staffing, if you've got a marketing staff. I see that there is a website developer online with us tonight. That business is a great growing business, and people that are starting businesses are always looking for ways of doing that. Putting together a website needs to be done properly in order to make that work. We've got some things on websites that you should take a look at as well. So these, you can set yourself up expenses kind of this way. There's a handout there to do that with. Here's how Ann did it. These are her one-time expenses. Again, I can't say it enough. This is very overly simplified, but it gives you the right idea. One-time expense, monthly expense, labor costs, and these are her channels, her local retailer, her distant retailer, and the internet customer that she wants to reach. And these prices are probably much lower now than what you'd have to pay today, but it's just something to look at. Here's what I wanted to show you as well. There, online in the SCORE website, you can get this lightly. Just got to figure out where. And the reason I want to show you is These are the things you want to begin thinking about as you put together your plan. You know, brand development. What is that going to take? And I would start in all of these. You need to have um, some goals to work from. What does brand development look like for your company? Okay, these are actually strategies as opposed to goals. So your goal for brand development is to make this is just one possible goal. You can make it how you want, but I want to get my brand name out to people who don't know me over the course of the next 6 months, and then work through how to communicate with them back and forth. So yes, this marketing budget is, I believe, linked in as a hot link in the presentation itself that you will get a copy of. If not, you could find it on score.org and just type in the magnifying glass area where you're searching annual marketing budget, and it'll come up. It'll give you. It's a free download, so you can get anything like that there. That's why I showed you at the beginning. I showed you the website because this is all there. So things simple. If you're hiring an agency for doing your public relations, what is it you want your public relations to accomplish before you actually go here? And maybe you don't need it. Maybe you do. Okay. So what is your goal? What is the strategy? These are the strategies. And what are the tactics that you're going to do to get there? And they all have costs, as you can see. I think this template might even be set up. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's got a formula in it. You drop money in here, let's say 500 and 300. Maybe not. This says, yeah, I don't know. I think these do have formulas in them. This is an older one. Oh yeah, it did put it in here. It showed it in Q1, and so this is done quarterly. Anyway, so other things that are here are, you can look at events that you're doing, sales support material, marketing communication, SEO program, website traffic. You probably could add to this other things. Let's see what I've got. Anything hidden? Yeah, there's a lot of hidden stuff in here. All right. So, I apologize for that. But there's a lot more in this template than what I'm showing. So it's something I think is pretty strong. All right, so here's the template here as well. Let's move on to the last couple slides. So if you're putting together a business plan outline, these are the things you want to look at. Your business idea, we've talked about products and services, pricing strategy, competitive comparison, target markets, marketing strategies. Those are just things that I would suggest. And there's a lot of ways and forms in which you can do this. I don't know if Sue Marone is on tonight, but Sue is one of our um, SCORE mentors, and she does a business model canvas, which is a really nice, neat way to put all this stuff together and articulate it in a way that makes sense. But you can also look at the business plan that we developed for ANS, and you'll see this there. So, quick review: competition, products and services, pricing strategy, target markets, strategies to reach your customers, marketing message, business structure. I did not talk that much about sales because we just don't have the time to do it. I can do hours in sales alone. So, what I would suggest if you have the time to do this is do your target market research, look at your market comparison, all these things that are outlined here, and then if you are working on a plan, continue doing that. Next session, which is financial matters, I said bring a calculator because Richard Brooks, I believe, is doing this, and he is going to be talking about actually, things like profit and loss statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements. He's going to show you and tell you what they are and how they work. Um, I work with a lot of businesses that have been in business for 2, 3, 4, and 5 years that just don't, do not have any financial management systems in place and don't manage their own finances. And at the end of the year, hand the shoebox over to their accountant and say, do my taxes. And, while I'm making light of it a little bit, you have no idea whether you're making money or you're not, if you're pricing right, what trends are going on, and things like that. Those are all the things that Richard will talk about next week. So, come prepared. If you know anything about Excel, that'll be helpful. But if you don't, Rich will walk you through it, and that's what our SCORE mentors are here for. So here's some more resources. Here's our website. Simple steps. Is a workbook that's available for you if you want to look at all of it. The startup roadmap is excellent for working on your business planning and to actually get an idea of how you need to follow through. Startup guide to setting up a business in Ohio. We went through that a little bit. Here we go. The business model canvas. Take a look at that. It's a one pager. It's actually more than that. So what I want to know now is, do you have any questions? Let me just take a quick look in what's in the chat right now. So you did ask where Ann shared her marketing message, and I kind of walked around that because I don't actually have a marketing plan for her. I have everything else but that. But any of the traditional stuff that I showed you, and I would guess because she does have a an e-web platform of some sort that e-commerce, I should say, that she's doing stuff both through her whatever that platform is. And there's a ton of great platforms out there. Somebody has a friend that wants to become a SCORE mentor. I can't thank you enough for asking me that. If you go to our website, there is a tab on volunteering. It's called Volunteer. Just go in there, fill out that information, and we will contact you, and we would absolutely love having more mentors. It's always a balance between our capacity to mentor and the number of clients that we get. So it's always that. And we're constantly growing. We're up over 100 mentors right now. It's getting great. So let's see. We have profit and nonprofit, and there are businesses that are out there. There are also social businesses that are out there that are work on a social platform as well, that are do good kinds of programs. So here's one. Will be for profit, but percentage of revenue will go to funding a nonprofit. That's a social enterprise. Sometimes works that way. Is the word I was trying to say before, but that's really a good thing. If you have any questions or any other comments, feel free, please, to put them in the chat. Sue is here. So, Sue, I just gave you a plug, as you heard, for the business model canvas. I think it's a great tool. Let's see. Yeah, so this has been a great session. So many things we're not focusing on. And see, that's what we're here for. You come up with the ideas, and what we need to do is help you articulate how to get that idea down on paper, starting at point A and getting to point Z. What does that look like? And to take the aspirational, we talked about this today in our meeting, things that you are aspiring to, get them down to real life activities. So, um, how do you approach marketing when the benefits of your product aren't things that someone might necessarily look for in a search engine? You know, you need to get and I can't go into it in any detail, but you need to have enough information on your website so that if somebody is searching on any search engine, that your information comes up. So what I'm talking about primarily is keywords. And so your website should have keywords peppered through it so that those keywords are things that people might consider searching on. So when they do, that little bot finds your website because those keywords are showing up in your website. I can't get into any more detail than that right now, but that's a great way to take a look. So, Alana, thank you. A great session, Bob. My mentor was very quick to respond. Uh, got their second meeting coming up on the 27th. That's excellent. We've got some wonderful, wonderful mentors. Um, Somebody has an online clothing t-shirt business and knows that their prices are high, but that's because I use third-party printing company. What could be done about that when it comes to comparing? Wow. So I don't know if you're silk screening, doing heat transfers, or what. But yeah, if you're buying in big enough bulk, you might be able to get those prices down. I would definitely shop at other producers and see. And if you can find somebody that is less expensive, even if you continually like this person or this company, leverage the lower price provider against the higher price provider. And that may be something that you can do. And it may be something somebody will do against your own business as well. But there's nothing wrong with trying to do that. So here's somebody that has a certificate for transition homes for women. It's a nonprofit. We've got a lot of wonderful nonprofit mentors that might be able to help out. Um, and hopefully, I'm not missing anybody. This may be a silly question, but my target market is persons with disabilities. I train service dog. No, it's not at all. I'm not sure how to locate that demographic. Um, Off the top of my head, I'm not either, but I can tell you that there are ways to find that out. But you can also consider working with the people that actually work with the disabled person. So if you can get referrals from people that are working with people with disabilities, rehab of any kind, um, hospitals, doctors' offices, specialists that work with that. That's, I think, where you might be able to locate. So what you're doing is you're looking for referrals, but if people know you well enough, know your brand well enough, that might be a great way to go. So it's mainly heat pressing. I use Printify for printing. Yeah, the actual processing is labor intensive, but I would think that there are other people out there that might be able to do that for you, and just check out the pricing. Do you know of any websites that provide free service for creating logos? I don't, but what you can do is go to Canva and do a free trial and see what that looks like. And also, what websites that are out there. I mean, you have to create it yourself through utilizing their software, but I don't think that many of those are terribly expensive. Um, Please check the zoning in a municipality before you open your home. Yeah, I mean, that's something that any mentor will tell you. There are communities that have several homes in them, and I'm talking about live-in homes and don't want more, or communities where you can't get zoning. If you try and go in there or you buy a property, that's even more important, and you find you can't zone it, then you've spent a lot of money potentially for nothing. Let's see what else. Um, how do you do target marketing when your market is international? Um, yeah, I mean, you need to identify who your actual target is first and where they're located and what types of business you're targeting. And then you could probably figure it out from there. So let's say you're going to the UK, you know, you should be able to research businesses in the UK every bit as easily as we can here for US businesses. That may be one way to start. And I don't see anything more. So um, I'm going to say it's been a pleasure. I apologize for running over, but I try to go as fast as I could without skipping too much. And so I look forward to seeing you all next week when Richard goes through the exciting area of financials. But it is so important, so needed for your businesses to succeed. I would, even if you get 50% of the information, it'll be well worth your time. But I expect that you all will get 100%. So thank you all so much. And I am going to stop sharing if I can. Um, I have two questions in Q&A that I missed. Yes, it is okay to have more than one mentor. And in some cases, um, we will put together what I'll call an advisory board. And sometimes you might have multiple mentors together on one session. I do that often, where I might bring in somebody that's got different marketing expertise than me, or financial expertise, or distribution expertise, and we'll all sit down and work with one client or one company. How do you approach marketing when the benefits of your product aren't? Oh, I already answered that one, so I think we're good there. Okay, so that is it. I am going to stop sharing. I think I haven't done that yet. And stop sharing. Come on, stop sharing. All right, well, it's not stopping for whatever reason. I'm just going to let it go at that. So, listen, everybody, have a great evening. Safe travels if you're traveling around, and I look forward to seeing you next week as well. Thanks.